Okay, this is the Maseches Beitza, and usually Maseches are not called by the first word of the Masechta. Now, Bracha, Shabbos, Erevim, Sochem, Shkolim, Yuma, Sukkah happens to be, but I don't think that it happens to be with Tainus, Megillah, or Megillah Old, maybe Megillah. But most of the Masechtas are not. I think that this also, it happened to be called Beitza, but in the Rishonim they do call it Maseches Yom Tov. The Masechta is really called Maseches Yom Tov, and that's what it's all about. It's Hilchos Yom Tov. Moed Katan is about Chol Moed. That's why it's called Moed Katan, like it's a Moed. The small Moed, maybe that is called Chol Moed, but Maseches Beitza is all about and they happen to call it Beitza, but that's not really. I think it really wouldn't be after the name. It's not about eggs. It's about Yom Tov. It happens to be the first. Hey, halach is about an egg. So the Gemara starts. Beitza shenolda b'Yom Tov. An egg which was laid, was born. A chicken laid an egg on Yom Tov. Are you allowed to eat it? Yeshama yomim te'achel, v'yeshama omim lo te'achel. Machlokes. Yeshama is mekel. This is right. This is an exception, and this whole mission is going to be three exceptions. It's going to be all cases of Beit Shammai, Kula Beit Shammai. It's going to be three cases where Beit Shammai is more lenient. It happens to be the Mishnah in Edios. Over there, it has a whole list of all the Kulas of Beit Shammai. It has more than these also, but it has all these three together. I think there are more over there. And the Mishnah here also, Rashi says, brings down all of them, all three, because they're a unit of a set of all the cases, of some cases where Beit Shammai is more lenient than Beis Hillel. So here Beis Shammai says you're allowed to eat the egg on Yom Tov. Beis Hillel says you're not allowed to. And yes, we're going to be machlok like Beis Hillel, you're not allowed to eat the egg. We have no idea why yet. So that's going to be the Gemara. Today, tomorrow, will be sugyas. How come you're not allowed to eat the egg which was born on Yom Tov? And now we talk about another two subjects. The Mishnah has three cases, three machlosim Beis Shammai, Beis Hillel, and we're not going to be on the other cases for a while still. We're going to be on the first line in the Gemara for a while. But now we learn the Mishnah. Second case, Beis Shammai yomim soor because it's on Pesach. What is the share of lo yirah that you're not supposed to have chumash in your possession? Not about eating it, but about being in your possession. So what is the measurement? What is the size that's also? So here we know the Torah says soor and it says chametz. Soor is sourdough that can leaven dough, and chametz is the actual. It's not enough to leaven something, but it became chametz, a bread, something which became leavened. So Beis Shammai says that chametz is not as chamor, it's not as severe as the soor. And as far as the shear goes, soor is going to be the size of a kazai. So if you have sourdough the size of an olive, so then you over lo yirah. But chametz had a piece of bread, so you wouldn't transgress only if you have the size of a koseves. Koseves is a date. Sometimes they call koseves sagasa, a big date, which is bigger than an olive. A date is bigger than an olive. So Beis Shammai is lenient that you're not over. You wouldn't transgress the avera of having chametz in your possession only if it was the size of a koseves. But Beis Hillel is machmir. Zev is ebekazai. He said even kosev, even the chametz, not only the sourdough, even regular chametz, if you have a size of an olive in your possession, it's also a transgression of lo yirah. Second case where Beis Hillel is more machmir than Beis Shammai. In the third case, if somebody slaughters a chaya or a bird, a chaya is like a deer. There's 7 kinds of deer that are kosher. Ayol, tzvi, yachmor. There are 7 kinds of deer that are kosher, and it's a delicacy to have a deer more than a cow and a sheep and a goat. And they used to use that for Yom Tov also, especially you see how fine in the Gemara they would try to get deer meat. That was a chashivos. But the halach is when you shecht a deer or a bird, you have to do kisei adam. You have to cover the blood. An animal, a cow, a sheep, and a goat is also shalacha. When you go to the slaughterhouse, you don't see of animals. You don't see them covering any blood. But if you do go to a slaughterhouse where they shecht the chickens, so then and turkey, any kind of a bird, so then you do have to cover the blood. So here the case is that he wants to shecht. He's shechting a deer or a bird on Yom Tov, and the halach is supposed to do kisei adam, but he doesn't have earth with which to cover it, and he'd have to dig in order to get the earth in order to cover the blood, and you're not allowed to dig on Yom Tov. So Beis Shammai says the words of the Mishnah seem to say that you may, but we're not going to take it. We're just going to read the translation, but we'll see later on in the Gemara what it means. Beis Shammai yomim yachor b'deker b'yechasa. The word deker is a spade. I guess it comes like a dagger or something like that. Deker, and it means a spade. And he says the words literally seem to say dig with the spade and cover the blood, which sounds like Beis Shammai says you're allowed to dig in order to dig. So that these explanations we'll see the Gemara eventually. Yisrael says no. Don't check unless you have earth ready that you prepared before Yom Tov in order to cover the blood. But if you don't have earth ready, so don't check and dig in order to get the earth. I didn't read it all the way. Only if you had earth ready from before Yom Tov, that you wouldn't have to do any malacha in order to cover the blood. The Mishnah ends off, Modim Shem Chachas Yachba B'dek V'Yachase. The word seems to say that Beisil also agrees that if you did, if you did shech, so, and now you have the blood and you can't cover it, so then dig with the spade and cover it, which needs explanation. Don't take it face value. That's what it seems to say. And the Mishnah ends off with 4 words which don't seem to make sense. She'efa kira muchanu. Efa kira means the ashes that you have in the oven, not all kinds of oven, no ashes over there, but when you have brick oven where you burn the logs in order to make the fuel, so then you have ashes over there. So it says that the ashes that are inside the oven are muchan. That's ready. It's prepared. It means it's ready to use for anything. And even though ashes, earth is not considered prepared unless you designate it for that, but everybody knows that in their oven they have ashes whenever they are burning the logs. So it's considered mukhan. It's not muktzah. Mukhan is the opposite of muktzah. Muktzah means that it's out of your mind, it's separated, and mukhan means that it is prepared. So efekir is mukhan. The problem with the Mishnah is that we're not talking about that. It says she'efekir mukhan. We're not talking about earth that you have to dig, and then it ends off she'efekir mukhanu. The shin doesn't seem to make sense because ashes of the oven are considered mukhan. So that doesn't make sense, and the Gemara is not talking about it. So, Chaim, you said something?
Yeah, that so you take that ashes and you use it to cover the
Yes, but the shin doesn't make sense because it's not explaining anything. It says that modim shem shachat b'derka v'yachas shem shachat, so she'ef akira doesn't make sense. It's another halacha to say if you have eif akira, you have no problem, but doesn't fit into the Mishnah so well. So that's going to be the Gemara. Talk about it. So that's the sum of the Mishnah. We have 3 machlokes in Beishama Beisila, all about Hilchos Yantif, and all the cases Beishama is the one who's more lenient, and Beisila is more machmir. But all of them are going to pass like Beisila. The first case is about an egg which is born on Yantif, laid on Yantif, and Beisila says you're not allowed to eat it. You don't know yet. You're not allowed to eat it on Yantif. Of course, Rashi points out you're allowed to eat it tomorrow after Yantif, Isruchag, whatever, or the next day Chol HaMoed, but you can't have it on Yantif if it was born on Yantif. Why not? We don't know yet. Beishama says also that the shear, the amount of chametz in order to transgress the Isser of Bal Yirua is a koseva, size of a date, or you pass like Beisila, that's also kazayas. The size of an olive is already going to be lo Yirua. The third case is
that is smaller than that.
Yeah, the olive is smaller than the date, right? And the third machlokes is seemingly are you allowed to dig in order to get earth to do kisei adam on Yantif? If you shechted a deer or a bird that you have to do kisei adam, Beisila says don't shecht unless you have ready earth. But if you don't have ready earth, don't. And Beishama seems to say you may, and you'll dig in order to get the earth, and we're not taking it face value because how would you do that? How are you allowed to dig on Yantif? What does Beishama mean? Even Beisila also says as much if you did it already post facto, if you shechted, then you are allowed to also. So we'll leave the whole thing for the Gemara. Also, the Gemara ended off that Eifakira is mufan, that if you have in your oven, you have ashes, or you always have ashes, so that's considered that you knew, and on default, you already made it that it should be designated as muksa. You're allowed to take it and use it for whatever you have to use.
It's interesting that deer is in the category of like a bird and not like
It goes together, chayanov. It's not a category of a bird, but both of them have this common denominator that you have to do kisei adam, and an animal does not. Why? I don't know. It's open pasuk in the Torah.
the deer goes into the category of
Not a bird. It says chaya. It says chaya and no.
right.
Not. Why are you saying it's in the category?
Where, an ox is not a chayah?
Ox, no. No, there's behema and chaya and no.
Oh,
A behema is a domesticated animal, which would mean a cow, a sheep, and a goat. And everything else, the deer are all considered chayas. And there are only 7. Altogether, there are 10 kosher kinds of animals. There are 7 deer. And
Buffalo's good.
that's a question. It'll be okay. It'll be considered a cow of some sort.
Oh, good.
There's a question of so there are 10 kosher animals. There are 3 domesticated animals, and there are 7 deer. What do we say? Sure, kesabes, ox, a cow, a sheep, and a goat are the 3 domesticated animals. Then there are 7 deer. Ayol, tzvi, achmor. I forget the rest of the list. Tob, bazomer. So we don't. Okay, fine. Do we know all the 7 deer, all the 7 kinds? I'm not sure. Okay, that's good. So the Gemara starts. The whole thing is going to be about the first line of the Mishnah. Why does Beisila say that you're not allowed to eat the egg which was laid on Yantif? And today we're going to have 2 pshatim, and tomorrow another 2. They're going to be altogether 4 reasons of the Gemara. We'll see what we pass on like. And today we're going to have 2 out of the 4 reasons. But my skinan. What is the case?
Just one point. When we talked about Musar, Zion, aren't sure is a lot of Mashua.
You ready to go fight it?
So there's a machlokus about it. That's what comes out. Machlokus even though usually we say shiurim as a lachom mishmasina, here is a machlokas what the shir is. Okay, nice point. But Mayaskina, what is the case of this? What kind of chicken? What kind of egg? From what kind of chicken is the egg being born that we're talking about? Mayaskina, what are we talking about? This egg that's also mutter to eat. Ilim b'tanagolas and medaslachila, ma'itamayda besila. Okay, that's a little hakdama. There are two kinds of chickens. Some chickens are designated for eating. You're raising the chickens in order to eat them. You want to shuck the chicken and eat it. And some chickens are designated not to eat, just to lay eggs. Eventually, you can change your mind. You can make this chicken. I want to make, but when this yantif came in and this chicken laid an egg, was it a chicken which was designated to be eaten, the chicken itself, and happened to lay an egg, like any chicken does until it's shechted? Or was it a chicken which was designated to lay eggs that had no intention of eating it? That's the more two choices. The Mayaskina, what is the case of this egg that we're talking about? If it's a chicken which is designated to eat the chicken itself, the Gemara doesn't see the problem that it should be muktzah. The egg shouldn't be muktzah because you look at this chicken, this live chicken is a piece of food. Yeah, you'll have to shecht it. Of course, and Yantif, you're allowed to shecht. You're allowed to shecht on Yantif. Nowadays, we don't do too much because we have everything in the freezer already. But you shecht on the day. So on Yantif, you're allowed to shecht. Shabbos, you're not allowed to, of course. But on Yantif, you're allowed to shecht. And the meat of the chicken is also considered food. And inside this piece of meat, you have an egg. It's also food. Meat is food. The chicken meat is food. And the egg is food. So it's a big piece of food. What's the difference? You have a chicken, you have an egg inside a piece of meat. What's the problem? Everything is considered food. So the Gemara doesn't see that it should be considered muktzah. What's muktzah about this egg? If you're going to talk about that the chicken is designated for laying eggs and you don't have any intention to eat the chicken, so then you can look at the chicken as a muktzah. And this is not designated for eating, so it's not food. It's a chicken which is a live chicken that's not going to get shechted. And then you can talk about the egg might be a problem of muktzah. But if it's a chicken which is designated also to be eaten, so then it's a piece of food also. So it's food within food. That's how the Gemara reads. What are we talking about? If we're talking about a tanagol, a chicken, a hen, which is designated for eating, why should they still say that the egg is also? Ifras. The word ifras actually says like ifrad, just separated. It's like maybe the word is like part. It's just food which was separated. If you had a big piece of food and you cut it in half, are you going to say muktzah? No muktzah. Everything's a big piece of food. So the chicken, the egg, which came out of the chicken, is a piece of food which came out of a piece of food. So there's no reason why the egg should be considered muktzah. What are we going to say? Opposite case. It's talking about the hen, which is designated to lay eggs, and you have no intention of eating it, and the chicken is muktzah. Then maybe the egg also should be muktzah. We're going to say that talking about a hen, which is designated just to lay eggs. So then the opposite is difficult. Why should Beishamai say that it's mutter? Doesn't he hold the muktzah? Muktzah. The chicken is muktzah, and the egg also should be muktzah. So that's the worst question. That's this all for these 4 or 5 lines. 4 lines was the question. What are we talking about? One of shachid, everyone showed that it's mutter, everyone showed that it's asa. So now the Gemara, before it gets to the answer, it says like, what are you talking about? Why are you so sure that Beishamai holds a muktzah? Maybe that's what they're arguing about. It's talking about a chicken which is only to lay eggs, and Hillel says that it's muktzah. Beishamai says it doesn't hold that it's muktzah. Oh my question, what's bothering you? Tell me Beishamai, let us know muktzah. So then that mission would be very nice. We're talking about such a case, and that's good for the machlokas. You go to muktzah or not. But the Gemara explains what's bothering it, because we who asked the question, we think that nolad is a worse muktzah than muktzah. Nolad, Rashi says muktzah means that it's set aside from your mind. The word muktzah means something which is set aside that you don't have it in mind. It's like off your mind, that you didn't have in mind to use it. And there's a machlokes if you hold a muktzah not, that's a famous machlokes of Yehuda of Shimon, which is going to also be revolving around that. And the Gemara thinks that nolad is so far removed that nolad means that it wasn't even in existence. If it's inside the chicken, it's not. Of course, it exists in the world, but it's like out of our world. It's in the chicken. It's in the world of the womb of the chicken, of the intestines of the chicken. So the Gemara considers that nolad, something which came into being now. Everyone should hold that kind of muktzah. That's why the Gemara had the liberty of asking, Beishamai does know the muktzah. The Gemara explains. We held, we who asked the kasha, that afilu mandam the shoyim muktzah, but we know that asa. And therefore, why should Beishamai say that it's mutter? The chicken, maybe the chicken is mutter, but the egg inside, that's nolad. And nolad is a big muktzah. Why should Beishamai say that it's mutter if it was born? So that's the Gemara's kasha. So far, what the Gemara asks, 2 kinds of chickens. One is that it's only fachila, everyone should know that it's mutter. That's a big piece of food that got separated. And if it's a chicken which is only for laying eggs, so the chicken should be muktzah, and the egg inside should be even be worse muktzah, should be a nolad, and surely nobody showed that it's mutter. But Rav Nachman is strong enough to say, no, that Beishamah doesn't hold the nolad. Rav Nachman, this can be the first terrace. We're going to have 2 terutzim today. This is the first one. We've been talking about Rav Nachman a lot, and later on we'll see another terrace also, but most of the day will be on Rav Nachman. Rav Nachman, the Olam B'tam Nigolos Avedas Tzadal Beisam, we're talking about this chicken, which is muktzah because it's designated to lay eggs, not to eat. The islay muktzah, islay nolad, the leslay muktzah, leslay nolad. Not like you thought. You thought that even the one that holds doesn't hold the muktzah, he holds of nolad. Not true. That the one who holds of muktzah holds of nolad, but if you don't hold the muktzah, you don't even hold the nolad, and therefore Beishamah doesn't hold the muktzah, doesn't hold the nolad, and therefore you're allowed to eat the chicken, you're allowed to eat the egg. Beishamah Rav Shimon, Beisol Rav Yehuda. That was Rav Nachman's terrace. That's the first terrace of the Gemara. The reason Rav Shimon, why we're talking about a chicken which is muktzah, and the egg inside is muktzah and even nolad, and you have the 2 extremes. That Beis Shammai says that even the egg is mutter, permissible, because he doesn't know the muktzah at all, he doesn't know the nolad. Beis Hillel is going to be the other extreme, that the egg is muktzah, and even the chicken is also muktzah. He also muktzah, he also nolad. That's the machlokas. You hold the muktzah or not. And this goes back to the famous machlokas of Rav Shimon and Rav Yehuda. We have it in Masechah Shabbos. Rav Shimon holds of muktzah, and Rav Shimon doesn't hold the muktzah. In general, we hold like Rav Shimon. Even though we say he doesn't hold the muktzah, that sounds like, hey, take off the shvesh muktzah. And we just learn muktzah every Thursday. We learn muktzah. We're going on for half a year already. We still didn't get finished. So that's called, we don't hold the muktzah. It means that because if you hold the muktzah, there are many more things that are muktzah that we permit. Abid is much more machmer and muktzah than we are. So the Gemara says that Beis Shammai holds like Rav Shimon that doesn't hold the muktzah, Beis Hillel holds like Rav Yehuda that does hold the muktzah. The Gemara has a contradiction in Rav Nachman himself. Umiyam Rav Nachman Nachi, did Rav Nachman say that Beis Shammai does not hold of muktzah, and Beis Hillel does hold of muktzah. But Tanan, Beis Shammai Yomrim, admission in Shabbos, Makriyan Me'al HaShulchan, Atzam Lo Klipin, but Beis Hillel Omrim, V'nat Tzalek Esatav L'Kula Menara. If you have bones and shells on the table, which are muktzah. So Taisus explains that these bones and shells are not that it's like a stone. We said it muktzah many times, that they're things that have no use at all, that everyone knows is muktzah. So we're talking about bones that are fit for animal use, and also the shells, whatever they're made out of, that animals would eat them, but humans won't eat them. When Shabbos came in, it was still part of the food, and now it became a piece of animal food. Is a mutter or not? So here's Machlokas Beis Shammai Beis Hillel. The Tanna Kama, I guess it's Beis Shammai. He says that that's not muktzah. You're allowed to pick up these bones and give it to the dog, and these shells also, whatever's going to be edible for the animals. And Beis Hillel says no, don't touch the bones and the shells. It's muktzah, even though it's animal food. If it became animal food now, and most you could do is just shake off the table. Table is like table, and you just remove the table and shake it away, because the table is not muktzah, and that's called tuchman atzad that you'd be allowed to shake off muktzah, hold up the table is not muktzah, and you're shaking it off the muktzah because you're not doing it for the purpose of the muktzah, you're doing it for getting the table clean. So it is muktzah. So what did it say over here? Again, so far it seems very nice. But Beis Hillel is machmir again. Beis Shammai, the Tanna Kama, is the one who said that it's not muktzah, and Beis Hillel is machmir and says it is muktzah. So if you take it at this point, it would be very nice with our Mishnah. And our Mishnah also, Beis Shammai is the one who's making on muktzah. Beis Hillel is the one who says no, there's a muktzah problem. But Rav Nachman, he made a problem for himself, because Rav Nachman, on that Mishnah, Rav Nachman said the girsa should be the opposite. It's the wrong girsa over there. Beis Hillel is the one who's lenient, and you can pick up the bones themselves. And Beis Shammai is the one who is machmir. Anu ein lanu ela Beis Shammai Rav Yehuda Beis Hillel Rav Shimon. We have a Masorah, we have a tradition. Rashi says from his rabbis that Beis Shammai is the one who's machmir like Rav Yehuda of muktzah. Beis Hillel the one who's making like Rav Shimon. So now it comes out of contradiction. After Rav Nachman revised the Mishnah over there, so Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel are contradicting each other. And our Mishnah, Beis Hillel was the one who's machmir, that it is muktzah, the egg is muktzah, the chicken is muktzah. And over there, Beis Hillel is the one who says that the bones and the klipin, even though it's also a question of muktzah, over there he says that it's not it's mutter. And Beis Shammai is the opposite. Beis Shammai, our Mishnah, is one who was makel, that you're allowed to eat the egg. And here, according to Rabbi Nachman's revision, it says now that he's the one who says that it's muktzah. You have to shake it off and don't touch it. So the contradiction, Beis Shammai Beis Hillel, according to Rav Nachman's revised edition. Rav Nachman. The Gemara, as I said, outside, then we'll see it inside. But Nachman's going to say yes. There's difference, yes?
The table, you don't have a problem with the light or with the
No, this is not a buses over here. When Shabbos came in, it wasn't there, so it's not a buses. It's not a buses over here. So
something, as we learned, first, on Shabbos, the table cannot become a bus.
Okay, we have to leave that for the details of the Hilchos Muktzah. But what I was going to say now is the difference between Shabbos and Yom Tov. Till now, we didn't say a difference. It's Shabbos, both of them, Shabbos and Yom Tov, either Muktzah, no Muktzah. Now the Gemara is going to say there's a difference. This is Nachman's Chiddush over here, that Shabbos is going to be more lenient than Yom Tov. Usually you don't have, that's why, what do you call that, counterintuitive. That even though Shabbos is much more common than Yom Tov, Shabbos is Chiv Skila, Yom Tov is the Losase, but for some reason we're going to be machmir by Muktzah more by Yom Tov than by Shabbos. And that's what it's going to say, that by Shabbos we're going to be maker like Reb Shimon, there's no Muktzah, and that's why the bones and these things are not Muktzah, because it's animal food. And the Mishnah by Yosef talking about Yom Tov, we're going to be more machmir. That's what he's going to say. But before he explains why, he's going to first prove it. Amar Rav Nachman, yes, it's not a contradiction. By Shabbos, the Sasa Montana Reb Shimon. But by Shabbos, there's a Stam Mishnah. Sasa Montana means when the Tana Mishnah says something without saying any names. It just says that as a given. That means that's a strong Mishnah. Rashi says that when Rabbi wanted to say that he should pass like this, he didn't put any names, so it should give the impression that it's the majority opinion, and he should pass like that. So by Shabbos, we find the Stam Mishnah that says that there's no Muktzah. What's the case? The Tanan, on Shabbos, you're allowed to cut up a pumpkin in order to give to the animal. It's animal food. Humans also could eat it. Maybe you have to prepare it, but the animals could eat it as is, and it's not muktzah. It was designated for animals also maybe, and that doesn't mean cut it off the ground. Of course, that's the malacha the rice kotzer, but it means it's already detached from the ground. But you want to cut it up into pieces in order the animals should be able to eat it. You can't handle the whole pumpkin, so you're allowed to do that. Rashi says it's not considered tircha. It's not considered like you're overexerting for your animal. You're allowed to do that. You're allowed to cut it up and give it to the animal. And on the available if neck, also if you have a dead animal, a dead cow or something, and you want to give it to the dogs to eat, but they can't bite into it. You have to cut it up for them first. You chop it up and then you give it to the dogs for food. You're allowed to do that also. But here, the Gemara understands that this nevela is not just, it's a dead cow that's been around from before. It died on Shabbos. You had a cow, which when Shabbos came in, it was a live cow, and that was not considered dog food. At the time when Shabbos came in, it wasn't dog food. Now it died on Shabbos. So even that, you're also allowed to chop up. It's not considered muktzah. So there's a Stam Mishnah that says by Shabbos there's no problem with muktzah. So therefore, that's why Rav Nachman says, I found a Mishnah by Hilchos Shabbos that you'll pass like Rav Shimon. And therefore, he's happy to say that the other Mishnah about Shabbos, the case about Magbiyan Atzamos, this other Mishnah here about taking off the bones and the klipin, which is talking about Masechah Shabbos, Hilchos Shabbos. So therefore, he's happy to say that it's not muktzah, and therefore you have to change the girsa and say not Beisil is the one who says shake off the table. Beisil says pick it up. There's no muktzah. It's not considered muktzah because there's a Stam Mishnah that says so. Therefore, mukum Beisil like Reb Shimon. By Shabbos, that the Tana says like Reb Shimon, so he says Beisil, who's the ones we're going to pass. We're going to pass like Beisil against Beis Shammai. So if the Stam Mishnah says like Reb Shimon, we're going to say the same thing. Beisil is the one who's like Reb Shimon. So by Shabbos, we pass like Reb Shimon that there's no muktzah. Aval Amud Beis, Aval Gabi Yom Tif, top of Amud Beis, Aval Gabi Yom Tif, Tesasa Montana Rav Yehuda. I'm going to read you a Mishnah that shows by Yom Tif or one machmir, and the Mishnah says like Rav Yehuda that there is muktzah by Yom Tif. Where do you find such a Mishnah? It's a Mishnah coming up later on in Am Masechta. That Tanan Ein Gavak and Nezim and Akol Shalom and Akol Shlish Rav Yom Tif. You're not allowed to chop wood from a beam. Now on Yom Tif you're allowed to make a fire. You're allowed to slaughter anything off nefesh. So you're allowed to make a fire also, but you have to have wood. And the question is, what kind of wood are you using? So it says, don't take wood, don't chop wood from a korah. A korah is a beam that's designated for building, and Tesh says it's even chasar kiss. This everyone agrees to, that you wouldn't be allowed to take a beam which is designated for building, and you're going to now make it on to make fuel. That's muktzah. That's Tesh says there are some muktzah even Shimon holds up. But the next case, you had a beam which broke. Now that it broke, this is firewood already. But when Yom Tov came in, it was not firewood. It was a very regular beam. And it says you're not allowed to use it. Why not? It's already broken. Now it's only for firewood. Why is it muktzah? Because of Rav Yehuda, also muktzah. So look at that. We have a Mishnah before by Shabbos, by the chopping up the nevela that died on Yom Tov. That's the same case. When Shabbos came in, the animal was not food, and then it died. Here's the case of when Yom Tov came in, it was a beam which is not firewood, and now it became firewood. And that's too much nice. Before it said that it's mutter, and this Mishnah says that it's asur. What's the difference? Because there's Shabbos and there's Yom Tov. So Yom Tov is more chamor than Shabbos, and therefore we can model Beisil like Rav Yehuda. And our Mishnah, Rav Nachman is happy to say Beisil holds like Rav Yehuda that it's muktzah, no lot muktzah, because we're more machmir on Yom Tov than by Shabbos. And now the Gemara wants to say attacks that. Why should that be? Yantav Muhammad and Shabbos. Mechti, let's analyze. Man starts to make the Rabbi Stis Rebbe. Who's the one who made all the Stam Mishnahs? Means who's the editor of all the Mishnayos? Rebbe. Rebbe and Nasi, they're not all the Zom Mishnayos. They have all kinds of names in the Mishnayos. But he's the one who was the editor, so he collected them, and he arranged it and organized it, and he said, Stam Mishnah is Stam Mishnah. Stam Mishnah means no name. That means he's the one who's saying, we pass like this Mishnah. And by Shabbos he says that it's mutter, by Yantav he says that it's asa. Why should that be? Why should Shabbos is asa Kav Shimon, or why should Yantav it's asa Kav Yehuda? Why by Shabbos is he lenient, like Kav Shimon, that there's no muktzah, and by Yantav he's machmir, that like Kav Yehuda, that there is muktzah, which is bothering everybody the whole time. What is this? Yantas Muhammad and Shabbos? Amri, they say, yes, Shabbos the Chamira, Vasil is the Zuli, Vasaslan Kav Shimon, the maker, but Yantav the kill, Vasil is the Zuli, Vasaslan Kav Yuda, the Machmir. And Echnami, like Hagufa, the fact that Shabbos is more Chomer is the reason why people are not easy to be lenient. And therefore, even though you give a leniency, they're not going to take it too far. They know Shabbos is very Chomer. But Yantav, which is not so Chomer, people are doing a lot of malacha. If you're going to give a little, what do they say? You give them a finger, take a hand. Once you're going to make a kula, they're going to take it further. So we have to be machmir by the muktzah of Yantav because people will take it too much. So that's what comes out. According to Nachman, we're more machmir by muktzah of Yantav than by Shabbos. And our Mishnah is talking about Yantav. He says by Sillal's machmir of muktzah by Shabbos is not. That's to point out. The Gemara doesn't say this, but that's to point out that Beis Shammai is opposite of all this. Beis Shammai comes out in both Mishnahs. By our Mishnah of Yantav, he's lenient, and by the mixture of Shabbos comes out that he's machmir. So Beis Shammai would be what we would have said. That Shabbos is more chomer, so you're machmir. Over there is muktzah, but Yantav is more lenient, so you. But that's what comes out, Taka. And that's what the Guf arguing in. That Beis Shammai says Shabbos is more chomer as far as muktzah, and Shabbos is also Yantav is mutter. And Beis Hillel is the opposite. That Yantav is more chomer by muktzah, Yantav is also Shabbos is mutter. The Gemara now is Nesek Kasha. So that's end of Nachman's pshat. The Gemara is going to ask now, we'll just say it outside, they will see it inside. The Gemara is asking, very nice, but then the Mishnah shouldn't just have spoken about the egg. That we still says you're not allowed to eat the egg, you're not allowed to eat the chicken either. It means there's a double machlok is going on. Not only the egg, the chicken also. Beis Shammai is extreme that you're even allowed to eat the egg, and Beis Hillel is extreme that you're even not allowed to eat the chicken. Because it comes out that the Gemara is a muktzah and there's no law. Muktzah means that's something which is not, he didn't intend to use, like the chicken, which is designated for laying eggs, so it wasn't designated for use. And the chicken and the egg is even worse because it's no law, that it wasn't even around. It was inside the intestines of the chicken. It was born out. So the machlokas is extreme, and the Mishnah only talks about the egg. It's sort of talking about the chicken also. That's going to be the Gemara's question. How did you explain the Mishnah of Nachman? That's talking about a chicken which is designated to raise eggs, to lay eggs, not to be eaten. And that's why the egg is muktzah. And or according to Beis Hillel, everything is muktzah. According to Beis Shammai, nothing is muktzah. If so why did the Mishnah talk about the egg? Talk about the chicken itself. That also Beis Hillel says that the chicken is also to eat. The answer is Lo Diachach Kochad Rabbi Shammai. The Gemara Shori. He wants to tell you the other chiddush. He wants to tell you the chiddush how lenient Beis Shammai is. Beis Shammai is so lenient even on the no that is mutter. It's true. There are two machlokas, and the chiddush is the one who says that it's mutter is even mutter than no. That's a big chiddush. But the Gemara says very nice, but tell us the chiddush the other extreme in Beis Hillel. The luftu gubitani golus of Diachach Kochad Beis Hillel the Mamuk Zasri. Tell us the machlokas of the chicken. The Beis Hillel says is us even eat the chicken. And that's a big chiddush in saying the egg. The egg is nolad. That's a chometik muktzah. It's true. Beis Shammai says that's mutter also, even the nolad. But tell us the chiddush of Beis Hillel that even the chicken is also. Maybe you'll say that it's better for us. We're more interested in emphasizing the one who says that it's mutter. Beis Shammai is Rashi says that if somebody says mutter and he's standing behind his words, even to say that it's mutter, that's a bigger koach than somebody said. It's not a reason to pass like him, and we're not going to pass like him, but it's at least a reason to emphasize it. Maybe that's the reason why he emphasizes Beis Shammai is not even know that. But the word says, "Oh, okay, very nice, you can say it, but emphasize both things." The niflag with Havayu, Tanako, it should have said both. It could have said both, and now the Gemara is going to tell you what it could have said. It could have said the following quotation. It could have said, "Tanagolas and medicine beitsim." He who beits us, Beis Shammai, that could have been the quotation. It could have said, if there's a chicken which is designated for laying eggs, it and its egg. Don't just talk about the beit. Talk about he who beits us. So it and its egg. Beis Shammai says both of them are mutter, even the egg. Even the chicken is also to eat. So this is the kashan of Nachman. Kitzer, what happened so far? Nachman said that the focus is about muktzah. It's talking about a chicken which is made to lay eggs, and Machlokes is if it's muksa or not, and there's also even a deeper muksa over here. The nolad is even a stronger muksa, and the machlokes is extreme. Beis Shammai doesn't hold a muksa, not even of nolad. Beis Hillel holds a muksa even if it's not a nolad, and takat machlokes is both. Beis Shammai holds that you're even allowed to eat the egg. Beis Hillel holds that you're even not allowed to eat the chicken. And the Gemara remains with a kasha on that it should have said it. Should have stressed the fact that it's going to be Hillel, it's even us to eat the chicken. Therefore, the Gemara goes on now to Nupshat. And just before we go further, now we're going to have Rabbah. Elam Rabbah. This is now the second shot. First one was of Nachman, and the next shot is Rabbah. Before we go further, just to emphasize the halacha. What are we passing over here? So in the halacha, it comes out that the Shulchan Aruch passes like Nachman also, that the Yantiv is more chomer. There's more the Yidol of Muksa on Yantiv. The Ramah is not, but he says that nolad is also both on Shabbos and on Yantiv. And just the halacha, the Ashronim argue on the Ramah, and they say that we're machmer on Yantiv by nolad. Again, the halacha l'maisa, we are an Ashkenazi, so on Shabbos we don't hold of muktzah, but everything we're learning on Thursdays we still hold of. But that's called not holding of muktzah. Okay, if you have a chicken, which is on Shabbos, that's not relative, because on Shabbos anyway, you can't chef the chicken anyway. So that's not relevant. But if you have something...
But the chicken has an egg on Shabbos.
So...
On Shabbos, are you allowed to eat egg?
What will be the case? You're not going to cook the egg, but you want to eat it raw.
Yeah.
So, no lot. So far, according to the Gemara, there might be other Gemaras coming up, which should be more problems with the egg example. But you're right. So far, according to what we're learning over here, that we don't hold of no lot on Shabbos, you'd be able to even eat the egg. Don't do it yet because we have more Gemara so far. But let's say another example. Let's say a simple example that according to Yehuda, you wouldn't be allowed to, if you have you sell things, you sell shirts, and you don't have in mind to use it. So according to Yehuda, you wouldn't be allowed to take it on Shabbos. I need a shirt. I'll take it out of my store because it's out of my mind. But according to Shimon, you're allowed to. Because like if Shimon, that since it's not an item which is muksa, just because you had it out of your mind, you're allowed to use it.
Out of your closet for sure.
Out of your closet is what? Is yours. Yeah, that's not a problem. Sure, it's not muksa. But the fact that it wasn't in my mind to use, it was like designated for selling. That we do all that muksa.
Maybe, by the way, maybe you sell shirts. Maybe selling is beged the certain kiss because you don't want sometimes you want everyone to
yeah. I don't know. Okay, and the case of no, if you have something which became one kind of food, and it became animal food on Shabbos. Let's say.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you. Can you mute Galaxy, please?
Is that muted?
No, it's not muted. Thank you very much. Now it is.
Okay, back 1 second.
Well, wouldn't it also be a problem with if you had a uniform, a weekly uniform that you wear? Not that you're selling it. You have your work clothes that you use to go to work, or a uniform that you wear. The doctor has his doctor's coat, and so that would be muksaf according to Rabbi Yehuda.
Because it's not in your mind to use it on Shabbos. Maybe okay.
Yeah.
A nolad case. What's the case of nolad? That will be mutter on. We hold this mutter on Shabbos, also on Yantiv. So far, Moshe said an example about an egg, sounds like a good example, but we'll have more cases why egg might be worse. What's the case? Ice. That if something changed, something was born on Shabbos, so it should be mutter on Shabbos and also on Yantiv. If the ice changed into water or something like that.
water and ice.
There they say, I think if Shlomo Zalman says that water and ice is not a problem because it's going to go back again by itself. You don't have to do anything to make it. Room temperature goes back. I recall something. That's why it seems to be a good example also. That, okay, but the other way, if ice turned into water, so is there a problem? On Shabbos shouldn't be a problem. On Yom Tov it is a problem. And another example they talk about is if you have food that became animal food. You had regular food, and now the bones and things like that is animal food. So on Shabbos it'll be mutter because it's animal food still, but on Yom Tov, the fact that it became nolad, it became into existence now, will be machmer on nolad more on Yom Tov than on Shabbos. Maybe my examples are not so good, but just to get the principle so far after the first Gemara,
What about if you have fruit that wasn't ripe Friday night and then Shabbos morning is ripened?
it's not a good connection. I don't hear well.
you hear me now?
Yes.
What about if you have fruit that's in the refrigerator, but it wasn't ripe?
Unripe. So no, when it came into Shabbos, it was not ripe. So then it's mamish muktzah. That's Mika discussed. Unripe means you can't eat it. So it's not edible. You know, even one of you know that that's muktzah. Okay, in general, I just got halacha just to get the formula that we hope Shimon and there's not muktzah. Notwithstanding everything else that we say it is muktzah, but we don't know that all the Rabbi is muktzah. But Yom Tov, we're no Ashkenazim. The Sfardim are machmer and all kinds of muktzah on Yom Tov. They should be machmer much more than us Ashkenazim. The Ashkenazim, at least, but not more the Achronim, they say they were machmer and no on Yom Tov. That's what we take out of the first Gemara. I didn't hear. Now Gemara goes all things together.
I'm sorry to ask you again the galaxy, please.
Avram, are you able to mute?
Thank you. Yeah, now it's muted. Thank you.
Okay. Next Gemara, Elam Rabba. This is going to be the second Torah. Home Pshat in the Mishnah. Tell us we have Rav Nachman. Now we're going on to Rabba. Elam Rabba. La'olam b'tani golos hameres lachila. Different scenario legamri. We're talking about a chicken which is not designated for laying eggs. It's designated for eating. And the question arises that in Yom Tov, what's the problem? It's a piece of food. You're allowed to shech this chicken, and the egg you're allowed to eat. Everything's mutter. What's the problem? How could Beisel say you're not allowed to eat it? We're talking about that Yom Tov is a Sunday, right after Shabbos. So far, we'll see what happens if Yom Tov is middle of the week. But here, the first case we talk about is Yom Tov that came out on the Sunday. What's the problem? The egg was born on Sunday, Yom Tov. Makara, or Mishim Achana. There's a new concept called Achana. What is this Achana? We're going to see that in 2 lines. The Gemara is going to say that what you eat on Shabbos or Yom Tov has to have been prepared on a mundane day. You can't have a holy day preparing for a Shabbos meal or Yom Tov meal. Well, it doesn't make sense yet, maybe. I didn't say it, maybe I didn't explain it, but let's see a couple of lines. Any egg which is born today, which is laid today, it had to have been already finished inside the intestines of the chicken the day before, which was Shabbos. Here you have Sunday, which came out on Yom Tov, and it was born on Yom Tov. So it was already finished inside the intestines of the hen. It was already finished, and therefore, the day before, prepared this food for Yom Tov. You have this egg, which was laid on Yom Tov. When was it prepared? It was prepared yesterday on Shabbos. You didn't do anything. You're not the chicken. You didn't do anything. It happened, like Rashi calls B'dei Shamayim, that it happened from heaven, not by you. Automatically, it happened by itself. That the egg got prepared on Shabbos, and now you want to eat it on Yom Tov. No good. You're not allowed to eat an egg on Yom Tov, which was prepared on Shabbos. Because some Rabba, okay, further, the Rabba Latame, Rabba goes in consistency with what he says someplace else. The Amar Rabba says, it says over there, it's talking about the month, that the month fell and they came on Friday, and it says, prepare on Friday whatever you want to eat for Shabbos. If you want to cook, you want to bake, if you want to cook the month, if you want to bake the month, so do it before Shabbos and then enjoy it on Shabbos. But Rashi says that the pasuk over there is elaborate. It says, prepare on Friday whatever you want for Shabbos, bake, cook. So it says already bake and cook. So when it says prepare on Friday whatever you need for Shabbos, it doesn't mean bake and cook, because that it says openly. So what is the pasuk coming to say? Even what you don't have, even not a malacha that you have to do, but mentally you have to have prepared whatever you want to eat on Shabbos has to have been prepared from the day before.
How about it that you know the chicken's pregnant and they don't have a baby?
Let's just see maybe that's advanced. Let's just see the words first. It says on the 6th day, on Erev Shabbos, they should prepare whatever they want to, what they bring, whatever they brought the month, they should prepare it. And Rashi says it doesn't only mean to cook and bake. That's surely it says preferish. You can't cook on Shabbos, you have to cook before. But you also have to prepare it. What does that mean? Chol mechel Shabbos or chol mechel Yom Tov. You have to have a mundane day, a weekday that should prepare for Shabbos or to prepare for Yom Tov. But ve'ein Yom Tov mechel Shabbos, ve'ein Shabbos mechel Yom Tov. You can't have 2 days in a row. If you have Yom Tov on Friday or Yom Tov on Sunday, you can't have Yom Tov preparing for Shabbos or Shabbos preparing for Yom Tov. This is the case we're talking about. That the basic knowledge of Yom Tov is going to be that Yom Tov came out on the Sunday, the day before Shabbos, and since we're saying that the egg which is born today on Sunday Yom Tov was prepared, finished yesterday on Shabbos, so it can't be that the Shabbos is preparing for Yom Tov. So you didn't do anything. You're not doing anything. You just want to eat the egg. And yesterday I didn't do anything. But the egg that you're eating on Yom Tov has to have been prepared on a mundane day. The Gemara is mashma that if it would have been prepared today, it's only because the one knows this yisod, the physical fact that if an egg is born today, it was already finished yesterday. If it would have been finished today, it wouldn't have been a problem because the day could prepare for itself also. But if it's going to be a different day, which is preparing for today, it has to be a mundane day. You can't have a holy day which is preparing for another holy day. That's a new yisod. And he says, it says, even daraisa, it's a kind of muksa daraisa. Till now, everything we talk about muksa is always rabbanan. All the muksa we talk about is rabbanan. He shouldn't come to carry, or he shouldn't come to do malacha. But this concept of muksa is a muksa daraisa, that any food which is going to be eaten on Yom Tov or Shabbos has to have been prepared not on a holy day before. It has to have been on a mundane day before. And therefore he says,
Excuse me, Rebbe.
Yes, please.
We said that this isn't according to Rabbah. So does that mean not everybody holds like this? This idea of preparing has to be on a weekday. It seems like that's only Rabbah.
Right, and this is called, in the Gemara terminology, this is called Hachana de Rabbah. Rabbah's Hachana.
Chachana de Rabbah, thank you.
That's where it comes from. Hachana de Rabbah means Rabbah's Hachana. This is his Chiddush, and he says this, we pass him like this also, that we hold the Hachana de Rabbah, and therefore the egg is going to be Yasser, like Moshe was saying before, a case of no lab, but it's worse. This egg is worse because it was finished the day before, and so far the Gemara says it's only Yasser if it was 2 days in a row. Yeah, Shabbos.
Rebbe,
Yes, please.
does this mean that technically the only concept we accept as Dioraisa in Muksa is Hachana D'Rabba and everything else is D'Rabbanan?
Yes, as far as I know.
Because the only other reference I have is that Rabbi Rosner brought, and I didn't see it inside because it's not on my daf. There's a Tosfos Yeshanim on this daf that tries to explain a lot of the differences between, in Muksa, in the Chumras and whatever. He says, Chumra de Muksa Ka'ain Dioraisa. And he's talking about every Muksa. So I don't really understand the concept yet of a Muksa that's Dioraisa and being maving between the different kinds of Muksa D'Rabbanan.
I don't know. In general, muksa is always Rabbanan, and this muksa seems to be the Raisa. There's a Rajba over here, if anybody wants to see, that talks about that this muksa is not related to any other kind of muksa. There's this special kind of a muksa, that any food has to have been prepared on a mundane day and not on a holy day. Okay, I don't know more, but this is the Gemara. But the kasha now is that so far the Gemara just explained if it's 2 days in a row, that the whole problem is that Yom Tov is on a Sunday, so then it was born today, it was already prepared yesterday on Shabbos, Shabbos prepared. But how about if you regular Yom Tov? If a Yom Tov will be on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, shouldn't be any problem. If it's a regular Yom Tov, not a Yom Tov after Shabbos, it's mutter. And now Mishnah says Beit Shnol of Yom Tov. It doesn't say Beit Shnol the Yom Tov after Shabbos. Not after when it's Yom Tov on a Sunday. Any Yom Tov is aser. The answer is Gzeira. Gzeira Mishim Yom Tov after Shabbos. We're going to prohibit every Yom Tov because sometimes Yom Tov falls on a Sunday. It's true. A regular Yom Tov and on the middle of the week that an egg is born, it really should be mutter. But since sometimes it falls on Sunday, and then if the egg is going to be born on Sunday, Yom Tov, it's also because it was prepared on Shabbos. So we're going to answer always based on Yom Tov.
People can explain Hillel.
That's what the whole Gemara is coming to explain. That's what the whole Gemara is coming to do. So the Rabbi explained because of this problem of Achana when it comes out on Sunday, and because of that, we're going to answer every Beit Shnol to be Yom Tov, even if it's the middle of the week, because sometimes it comes out on Sunday, and that's going to be also because it was already prepared Shabbos, and Shabbos prepared for Yom Tov.
That's clearly the Rabban.
This is Rabbanan, yes. Chaim is pointing out that even though Achanat Rabbah is the Raisa, but that's only when it comes out on Sunday. But if it will be the rest, then it's only Gzeira. Like the Gemara says, Gzeira Yom Tov after Shabbos. And now the Gemara says also, top line, Shabbos Dalma. How about Beis Shnol b'Shabbos? The Gemara is assuming the same way Beis Shnol b'Yom Tov is Aser, also Beis Shnol b'Shabbos. Why is it Aser? The same thing. Only if Yom Tov was on a Friday, so then the Beis Shnol b'Shabbos was already prepared for Yom Tov, and Yom Tov can't be Mechin b'Shabbos. But if it will be a regular Shabbos, that the day before Friday was a mundane day, what's the problem? It was completed on Friday, and that's a weekday. So the Gemara says the same answer. Shabbos al Matishri, a plain Shabbos means not a Shabbos which is after Yom Tov, also should be mutter, and the answer is the same teretz. Gzeira mishum Shabbos achar Yom Tov. It's a Gzeira that sometimes Yom Tov comes out on Friday, so we're not going to say a Beit Shnol b'Shabbos is mutter because sometimes it's going to be the day after Yom Tov. People don't realize that the egg today is yesterday's egg. They're not going to learn this. So if you're going to say that we know always people are eating eggs born on Shabbos, they'll say we'll eat an egg on this Shabbos also. They didn't realize yesterday was Yom Tov, and so what? because if it was born today, it was completed yesterday, and then Yantif Mechel the Shabbos. So he says that it's Taka Aser, Beis Hashanah the Yantif is Aser, Beis Hashanah the Shabbos is Aser, both Rabbanon. When is, because of a deraisa, when is the deraisa going to be? If the day before was a holy day. The most of the problem, Umigas Rinan. Do we make the Rabbanans over here? But Tanya, Hashachar the Satanic Golas, we also must have a Beis and Gemuras. Muteros Lachlan B'Yamtiv. Tell me, we spoke about that an egg was laid, which is the usual way that he lays an egg. What if you shechted a chicken, a hen, and you open up the stomach over there and you found an egg? A Beis and Gemuras. Are you allowed to eat that? You're allowed to shecht on Yantiv. No problem to eat the meat. Are you allowed to eat the egg? So it says, yes, you're allowed to eat it. And the Gemara is bothered that Beitza should not want to make a gzeira, nishchat, or to nolan. Means this case where shechted an egg, it wasn't born. Means the way we get that as usher is because if it was born today, that means it's already so developed already that it was completed yesterday. If it wasn't born, then maybe it wasn't completed yesterday. Maybe it was completed today. So if you shecht the hen and you find the egg inside, we're not going to say it's Aser Betza. The only reason why it's Aser till now was because it was completed yesterday. But here, this wasn't completed yesterday. You shechted it now. So it wasn't, you shechted it in order to get it out. You didn't wait till it laid it. So it wasn't completed yesterday. But the Gemara is asking, if you make these Rabbanans, like we said, that even in the middle of the week, it's going to be Aser because Yantav Hatu Shabbos, Shabbos Acha Yantav. So then they should have made a Gezerah, Nishchat Umatzah Atu Nolad. That if a Beit Shenolda is Aser, when it's born, it's Aser, so then you should also Aser, even if you shechted the chicken and you found the egg inside.
And here,
not Gezerah.
why not?
Why? Good. No, very good. That's a good kasha. That is Gezerah. If we're saying the only reason why Beis Hashanah B'Yom Tov is Aser is only because sometimes it comes out on a Sunday. So why does the Gemara want that you're shechted a chicken and you found an egg inside? It should be Aser because Atu Nolad, even though it's only Aser because of Gezerah. Rashi has the kasha. Rashi says that it's a good kasha. And Rashi says that the Gemara only means to say if you shechted the chicken on a Sunday. Sunday Yontif. If it would be a middle of the week, it would be Gezerah. But if Sunday came out, Yontif came out on Sunday, and he shechted the chicken and he found an egg inside, it should be also because of Gezerah to Nola. In this case, it wouldn't be Gezerah because this case would be the Raisa. If it would be a Beis Hashanah beyond Tefachar Shabbos, it is the Raisa. So if you shechted it, and even though it wasn't Nola today, it wasn't completed yesterday, we should also ask you because of Gezerah. If you hold up Gezerah, make Gezerah here also. In Misa, if it's true, you make Gezerahs, you should have made a Gezerah even when you shechted and found it, Atu, the case where it was born on this day of Yom Tov Achar Shabbos. The answer is, it's not usual to find a complete egg in the intestines of the chicken when you shecht it. They don't make xeris on things that are not usual. Since it's not a usual case, they don't make xer for that. I don't know why. I don't know that's ending Gemara. I don't know why that's so. Why is it not usual? If you check it, why is it not usual to check the chicken and find the egg inside? If it's there, so why shouldn't whenever you check it? I'm not sure why the facts. Why it should not be usual? If anybody has anybody experience with eggs, I'm not sure why it should be so. But that was is not.
Maybe the issue is that it was finished today, and that egg that was finished today is the one we're talking about. No?
The one which is finished today wouldn't be a problem. The only problem is because it was finished yesterday, right? Am I saying wrong?
No, it was finished.
Finished today wouldn't bother us. It's only bothering us because it was finished yesterday. If it would be finished yesterday, then it'll be that again. If it were finished yesterday, that's a real problem. The bottom line of Toys asked the question that maybe this egg, you shechted it, maybe in another hour would have been born. And if it would have been born today, that means it was completed yesterday, so it should be also with the rice, and not only Xera. Toys says that whatever Toys answers to that question, but we're assuming that if it wasn't born today, it was not completed yesterday. It was completed today. And that shouldn't be a problem. If it's completed today, it's not a problem. It's only also because maybe it was completed yesterday. To be completed today wouldn't be a problem. If that's what the Rashba said earlier, that the Gemara only puts in this extra fact that an egg which is born today was completed yesterday. If it would have been completed today, it wouldn't be a problem. This halacha that you have to have a chana de Rambam that has to be completed yesterday on a weekday, it doesn't mean dafka completed on a weekday, and if it was completed today, it would be a problem. It calls it Yontif Mechel Natzma, that if it will be the same day, that's okay. For some reason, that's considered, that passes. I don't understand the lumdus too much, but it means that if it was born today, made today, and now you want to eat it today, it was completed inside the chicken today, there wouldn't be a problem. It's only because yesterday was a holy day. One holy day can't prepare for a different holy day, but the holy day could prepare for itself. So back to the Gemara said, when you shechted the egg, if it would be under the regular klalim, you should have made a gzera that if you shechted it today, even though technically it's mutter because it was not completed yesterday, let's say it's completed today like Taisus is assuming, so it should be mutter. But the Gemara is asking, make a gzera, shechting it to let it being the egg being born, and that the Gemara says that it's not shchiach, that when you shech the chicken, it should have a completed egg inside.
You have a whole seven shulchan aruch.
About what?
Shechting the chicken, finding eggs inside.
Yeah.
It's meura, it's-
That's talking about that's not completed. The Mura means it's not completed. They were talking about that it's a completed egg. You have a completed egg. Mura means when it's not when it's still intertwined with all of the
Chelbai.
okay, but
Comes from Siman, who
Mm.
was considered
What's the-
mutter to-
Mm.
was also mutter to- You're right, okay.
Beis Gemuras. The question of Beis Gemuras. Of course, every time you have there's the track that the egg is being developed in, so you always find things inside. Here it seems to talk about the Beis Gemuras and not shchiach. It's not shchiach that you should have a full egg inside the chicken, and I don't know why not. Why is it any less chance that you'll find full egg? Why not? So we have to ask the egg.
Rebbe, maybe it's just simply based on the halachas of shchichi. Like, you're looking at, taloim or fruit in the shuk, things like that. It's all a question of percentages.
Yes,
It's like,
I don't know why it's not shchiach to have a full egg inside the chicken. Why not? I just don't understand why the Messiah should be that way. Why is it any less shchiach? Why not? If the chicken is producing eggs, so why should it be not normal to find the full egg inside? I
maybe
guess-
it's based on the idea that as soon as it's done, at that moment, it already goes out. It has an impetus to go out.
No, the Gemara said the opposite. The Gemara said that if it's born today, it was completed yesterday.
No, it's-
That was the whole Gemara, that it doesn't come out right away.
no, it's a club.
Maybe, I don't know what to say. Okay, but anyway, that's the Gemara. So that's to finish, that's to summarize the Gemara today. That's that's the end of the daf. We have two more shittas coming up tomorrow to explain our Mishnah. We have our Mishnah, the Mishnah had three halachas, but only concentrating on the first one. Machlokes, if an egg was born on Yantif, are you allowed to eat it? Beishama is Mekel, Beisila is Machmer. Why? Rav Nachman says it's talking about an egg which came with a chicken which was designated to lay eggs, and therefore the chicken itself is muktzah. And the egg inside is even worse muktzah because it's nolad, but it still holds to these problems, and therefore you're not allowed to eat the chicken, you're not allowed to eat the egg. And the Mishnah only talks about the egg. That's a kasha. Why is it only talking about the egg? The chicken is also awesome. But Shammai is extreme mutter that he doesn't hold the muktzah, he doesn't hold the nolad either. As far as the halacha over there, the Gemara says that you're being machmir by Yom Tov more than Shabbos. Yes, we're being machmir more than Yom Tov more than Shabbos. Tam b'shnayis each way, and the reason is because since Yom Tov is really more lenient, so you have to be machmir. People shouldn't take it too far, and therefore machmir more. The Shulchan Aruch passes like that Yom Tov is held like a Yehuda of muktzah, and the Ramah not, and that comes out after Achronim that Ashkenazim only machmir on Yom Tov by nolad, not by regular muktzah, but by nolad. Yes. The second, what? Well, like Shimon, but one exception. No lad on Yom Tov. We hold like Shimon, there's no muktzah, but if you have two things against you, call it two things, that it's Yom Tov. Yom Tov is Muhammad and Shabbos, like this, and no lad. But machmir on no lad on Yom Tov. That's the only time I hold the computer is no lad of Yom Tov. The second Gemara, Rabbi says that it's true that if it will be a chicken which is homemade for eggs, the egg is aser. Even the chicken is aser, and the Mishnah doesn't say that. The Mishnah is mashma that there's a case where the chicken is mutter and the egg is aser. And what is that? That it was homemade to eat, and therefore the chicken is not aser, but still the egg is aser because if it was born today, it was completed in the chicken yesterday, and that's a problem of achana the rabbah, that it has to have been completed on a mundane day, not on a previous day which was holy. And in case Yom Tov will fall out on a Sunday, so this egg which was born today was completed yesterday, that'll be an issa d'oraisa to eat that egg because it had to make a gzera that even Yom Tov in the middle of the week is also going to be asa because sometimes it'll come out on Sunday and that'll be issa d'oraisa to make a gzera. They didn't make a gzera on a chicken which you shechted on Sunday, Yom Tov, even though you might make a gzera atu nolad because it's the milsa lo shchicham because of Rabbani. That's the today's done. Hope everybody enjoyed in the Maseches Beis.
Yes, thank you. Can I ask a question for clarity on Rav Shlomo Zalman Auerbach? How would he hold about making ice on Yom Tov?
Is it considered nolad? I'm a little shaky on this halacha because I think that even that other way, what Ben had mentioned, that if ice became water, so according to what we learned, it should be mutter because there's no nolad. I think the poskim do talk about it. The poskim are concerned about the ice that becomes water. So why
Yeah.
should it be nolad?
The way that I understand halacha, I'm not sure who paskins which way, but is that that for one shouldn't make it, but for guests one can make it. If there's a guest coming, one can make it.
I don't recall that. I think, okay, I don't know. I'll try to look it up for tomorrow. The question that's bothering me is if I think that the poskim talk about on Shabbos, that if ice
Yes.
smells, is a problem, and I don't understand. Why should it be a problem? If it doesn't-
Because it's coming out as a new form. It's a new.
But we said that that is not a problem on Shabbos. If anything, only
Yeah, but I think if it melts, then it's the noinad is actually when it melts.
yes,
That's the
well,
problem.
yes, but we're asking that nolad is mutter on Shabbos.
So what happens on Yom Tov?
On Yom Tov, we can say that it's also. If ice melts on Yom Tov, and according to Asugya, if ice melts on Yom Tov, so then you'll have an issue of nolad. But if it melts on Shabbos, what's the problem? I thought we don't know.
And what about making the ice cubes? In other words, you're creating a situation where they might melt.
What Gadi said about guests, I don't know. But what I remember, if I remember correctly, that some poskim from Zalman and others, they say that making ice is not considered transferring it to a different state because it's only temporary as long as it's cold. As it comes back to room temperature, it goes down again. So that nolad is not considered a permanent nolad. When something's born, it's born and now it stays that way. But if it's just...
So that's what I'm thinking. So that would mean that would be permitted on Yom Tov.
It'll be mutter even on Yom Tov then. If that's true, then it'll be mutter even on Yom Tov. But I don't want to say anything authoritative because I have to look it up first.
Okay, thank you.
I hope to come back tomorrow with this information if I'm able to find it on time. Yes, everybody.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Kalte. We'll be back with the Hilchas Rosh Hashanah.